Alright guys, today we're gonna be reacting to how the Berlin Wall worked. Thank you so much for the support guys. I was on a vacation in Puerto Rico with my family. We have a great time, and I was kind of busy for the last couple weeks. We're coming back with a new program. Hopefully we can just implement it. I'm not gonna say too much because I don't like to tell what I'm gonna do because then it doesn't happen. We're just simply gonna jump in. Thank you so much for the support, guys. Thank you so much for all the recommendations that we have. We have multiple recommendations. I'm just trying to get one at a time, but we do have a lot of recommendations. Make sure you like to subscribe. Also, for more recommendations, links in the description. And for those folks that actually has donated to the channel, thank you so much. You have no idea how much I really appreciate that. In the meantime, guys, let's jump in and let's see what's going on in this video.
A city into two completely separate parts. Roads that used to connect are now dead ends. Your job on the other and the neighbor across the street that you used to see daily, you will perhaps never speak to him again.
Maybe.
The Berlin Wall did exactly that, separating East and West for almost 30 years. For this video, I've animated the various development stages of the wall in order to understand the design of this unique piece of architecture. This is how the Berlin Wall worked. Living in Berlin before the wall was
Hey, shout out to the music, man. He's right on the money.
built was a strange life. You could move around the entire city freely, but you were either an East Berliner or
Really? Hold up. So you can visit each side, right?
a West Berliner. After the Second World War, the victorious nations had divided the German city into several parts. The Soviet occupation zone ultimately became the territory of East Germany, a socialist state, and the western part of Berlin remained legally occupied, but in all practicality, it belonged to West Germany, a capitalist state. Socialism and capitalism, two different nations, and even two different currencies, separated only by streets.
Wow, I did not know that.
Trains connecting the different
Literally two different currency. Huh? I did not know that.
parts of the city would make announcements. Next station, last stop in the eastern zone. Many people lived in one part of the city but worked in the other. East Berliners took jobs in the west in order to benefit from the stronger currency, while West Berliners got their haircuts in the east at prices that were much cheaper to them. And in a way, both systems tried to outdo the other. In West Berlin, a multitude of stores sprang up on the Kurfürstendamm Street, shop windows filled with the latest brand name products of Western consumer culture. While just a few streets away in East Berlin, there was Stalinallee, a street that was transformed into a boulevard full of buildings in the style of socialist classicism. But this open
Yeah, but there's literally no cars, man. Nobody. So like a North Korea kind of stuff.
coexistence of two systems wouldn't last long. On the 13th of August,
By the way, I'm drinking today the sparkling water with a strawberry flavor. If you can see, man, I love these. Here, baby, get some.
1961, Berlin woke up to a divided city. The East German government closed the border, which means that families were split apart. Though officially stating that this was necessary to protect their country, it was an effort to stop their own citizens from fleeing to the West, where opportunities, wages, and freedoms seemed greater. At the start, this was just a wall in name. It mostly consisted of fences and loose pieces of barbed wire, manned by guards. There were some unguarded stretches, and it was even possible to jump across. To make escaping more difficult, construction immediately began on a more permanent wall, made out of concrete and topped off with barbed wire coil around a Y-shaped metal
Man,
arm.
they literally just put those pieces there like they didn't care. Like put cement there and just put some block or piece of rock and let's just put some barbed wire and that's it. Literally, that's what happened. That's what happened.
But this is not how the wall looked everywhere. A shortage of building materials meant that in the first years, just 10% of the border was built like this.
Damn.
And there was another issue. Sometimes the border between West and East Berlin went straight through housing blocks, houses that now had to become part of the wall. The East German authorities forced people out of their homes and filled the windows with bricks.
What?
Sometimes, however, they would forget a window. On August 17, 1962, Peter Fechter discovers one such house, making up part of the wall. Peter is frustrated with the East German government as they won't let him see his sister that lives on the other side of the wall. Together with his colleague Helmut, he fantasizes about an escape to the west. The two of them see people inside the house, and in order not to be noticed, they take off their shoes and quietly creep in.
What?
By sheer luck, they quickly find the open window, and from here they have a clear view of the road to freedom. A fence, then a clear strip, and finally a wall.
But at the same time, it looks clear. Hear me out, folks. It looks nice and open and clear, but man, you have people just pointing at those areas, man. Like, it's not that free. It looks nice and cozy and clean, but as soon as you cross those barbed wire, you're getting shot in the head.
It seems doable, except for the fact that they are in plain sight of the nearby border guards.
I'm telling you.
Suddenly, they hear voices behind them, and it is now or never. Peter and Helmut jump out of the window and climb the first fence. Then they are spotted, and immediately the guards open fire.
Wow.
Helmut dashes across the strip through a haze of bullets. As he scales the wall, he looks back and he sees his friend Peter frozen in place. The guards are closing in further, and they will have a clear shot soon. Helmut screams, and Peter finally springs into action. He makes it across the strip, but as he jumps up to scale the wall, he is hit mid-air and slumps down.
Damn.
Helmut can't help his friend. An entire 50 minutes passes as a crowd of onlookers gathers to see Peter lying on the ground, slowly dying at the base of the wall.
Man, talk about a lack of humanity, man. Talk about lack of humanity, man. Not lack of humanity, but lack of empathy.
Tragic stories like Peter Fechter's were widely covered in the West. But for the East German authorities, the only lesson learned was to increase the wall.
Of course.
Over the course of decades, the wall is consistently upgraded, with more and more increasing security features. What once was a single wall soon became a brutal border strip, cutting the city further and further apart. As improvements to the wall were made, escape attempts shifted to new methods, and the wall would be expanded again, a back and forth that was repeated until the last version of the wall was
But you know
built.
what's crazy? What I was thinking? What about tunnels? Right? What about tunnels? You can build a nice tunnel. I mean, you have to be a couple feet down the ground. I will say like what, 15 to 20 feet. Make it a deep enough deep where you can cross and the guards would not even notice that you are even using a hammer. You see what I'm saying?
The version of the wall that became famous. From 1975 on, the East German authorities rolled out this version of the wall, a border virtually impossible for anyone to cross.
Yeah.
And this is how it generally worked. Coming from the east, only the visual barrier made of concrete slabs can be seen. This was done so that the exact border fortifications are not visible, as this knowledge could be used to plan escape attempts. Just
Smart.
behind this barrier, the ground is covered in so-called Stalin's grass. These are mats made of steel needles that would pierce the foot of anyone
My
trying to
God.
jump across. Next up is a signal fence consisting of barbed wire
And these
stretched
people don't give a damn.
over concrete posts. Anyone trying to scale this fence would quickly press the wires together, triggering an alarm and notifying the guards in a nearby watchtower. Watchtowers were manned 24/7 by 2 to 5 soldiers. These soldiers had a clear view of the whole border, with orders to shoot anyone on sight. Trying to use brute force to break these sections would not work either, as behind the signal fence are several rows of tank traps, barring anyone from driving through with a vehicle. In the middle of this border zone is a path for soldiers to patrol the area, oftentimes accompanied by dogs. And behind this is the so-called death strip, a stroke of dirt stretching for miles in every direction, in full sight of the guard towers. Hiding is impossible. And if anyone somehow
you know what's crazy? You are literally in plain sight. So any soldier can just hit you from any angle.
Made it past here, they reach a part that is easily recognizable. The wall facing the western side. In contrast to the old wall, these elements had a foot-shaped bottom, which meant that no holes in the ground were needed for their construction. And instead of barbed wire on top, there were now pipes made of asbestos concrete.
Yeah, you can
These pipes provided stability for the wall elements, and the East German authorities also hoped that they would decrease the prison.
That's where you can have some kind of support right here. See? Yeah, but you have to commit. You have to commit. You have to literally just jump, use your leg. You saw a little bit of support in your arm, and bam, right here. Start using your fingers. But I don't even know how many feet is this. It's probably like, what, 10, 15 feet? It's tall.
Camp feeling of the previous wall.
Yes,
but this was not the only reason for the change.
10 feet, I will say, yeah.
The new concrete used was extremely smooth, with nothing to grasp onto. One thing the authorities didn't consider, however, is that this smoothness made the wall an easy target for graffiti from the western side. Graffiti that would dominate many of the 45,000 elements that were placed in Berlin. Artworks that would often mock the East German government resulted in an open gallery of sorts, highlighting the harsh difference between life in the West, where free artistic expression was possible, and life in the East, where this was unthinkable. Exact numbers of victims from this wall are disputed, and it is something that to this day is being researched. But over the years, it was many who, just like Peter Fechter, were hoping for a better life on the other side of the wall.
Oh, wow. Man, look at that. Wow.
But the Berlin Wall was only a small part of the division of Germany. In addition to Berlin, the whole country was also divided into 2 parts, and some people made daring attempts, risking their lives to try to get to freedom. For example, the 2 friends Günter Wetzel and Peter Strelzik, who wanted to build a better life for themselves in the West. And after coming across an article about hot air balloons, an insane plan was born. The 2 decided to build their own homemade hot air balloon to escape.
Wow, that's crazy, man. Isn't that crazy? Ha! I love that.
Across the border. After everything is sewn together, the burner is started and the balloon takes off.
Oh. Okay.
But then, immediately after taking off, a huge hole is torn in the top of the balloon, and they could crash to the ground from over 6,000 feet.
Oh. That's a secure death, man. 6,000 feet? Wow. Well, a plane will go 10,000 feet. So 6,000 feet doesn't look that far away. Poof.
I made a complete video about this spectacular balloon escape, with some of my most elaborate animations and illustrations. And I was able to interview Günter for this project, who told me how the daring escape attempt went.
Plötzlich kamen vom Boden 3 Scheinwerferstrahlen auf uns zu und nach kurzer Zeit ist auch unsere Flamme ausgegangen.
This documentary is part of my ongoing Nebula original series Underexposure, in which I create higher budget productions, such as my video about the Bin Laden raid, with detailed animations exploring how the raid unfolded. or my video about the Tenerife disaster, the
Tenerife.
worst aviation accident that
Oh, wow.
never happened. Videos that are not made for the YouTube algorithm, but unrushed storytelling. Nebula is a creator-owned streaming service where the likes of Johnny Harris, Wendover Productions, Real Life Lore, or The Present Past post their videos early, ad-free, and create higher-budget originals. The Present Past actually wrote the script for this very video with me, and he has his own fantastic video out about all the different borders in the world, which I would highly recommend checking out. So go to nebula.tv/Neil.
Oh, I see what he did there. Hey, man, he was selling it to me, man. I almost got there and just clicked the link, to be honest. Wow. Amazing. Amazing, folks. Wow. I don't know what to say, man. He did a good job. He got me locked in. Locked in, man. I didn't know what to say, to be honest. Like, wow, man. I just want to hear that story again. That's crazy, man. Give me 1 second, folks.
In 1962, Peter Fechter discovers one such house, making up part of the wall. Peter is frustrated with the East German government as they won't let him see his sister that lives
That's
on the other
sad,
side
man.
of the wall.
That's sad, man. I mean, these Soviets, man, they put that system there, and Germans, they follow through. It just show you, man. It just show you. The worst enemy sometimes is just right there in front of you. You don't want to see it. That's what happened here.
Together with his colleague Helmut, he fantasizes about an escape to the west. The two of them see people inside the house, and in order not to be noticed, they take off their shoes and quietly creep in. By sheer luck, they quickly find the open window.
That's crazy.
From here, they have a
They basically went ninja. They said, you know what? Today I feel like a ninja. I'm just going to throw my shoes and I'm just going to give it all.
clear view of the road to freedom. A fence, then a clear strip, and finally a wall. It seems doable, except for the fact that they are in plain sight of the nearby border guards. Suddenly, they hear voices behind them, and it is now or never. Peter and Helmut jump out of the window and climb the first fence. Then they are spotted, and immediately the guards open fire. Helmut
What would you do there? What would you do there? Think about it, folks. What would you do there? Just for freedom. Or a sense of freedom. Not freedom, or sense of freedom. Because a lot of these things you're not free, really, when you think about it.
dashes across the strip through a haze
Meaning,
of bullets.
let me just explain myself. You're just going from one system to the other. The only difference is that one of the systems is less crazy. Let's put it that way.
As he scales the wall, he looks back and he sees his friend Peter frozen in place.
Bro, Peter,
The guards are
Peter, this is what you messed up, man. That's where you messed up, man. You needed to commit like your friend. He committed. And you should have committed. You just go all the way, and I would just, those razor wires, I would just jump right at it, and that way I know at least I can just flip I will get cut, but then my clothes will just rip off, and at least I know I will be in the other side.
closing in further, and they will have a clear shot soon. Helmut screams, and Peter finally springs into action. He makes it across the strip, but as he jumps up to scale the wall, he is hit mid-air and slumps down.
Yeah.
Helmut can't help his friend.
Wow.
An entire 50 minutes passes as a crowd of onlookers gathers to see Peter lying on the ground, slowly dying at the base of the wall.
They were afraid. They were afraid of of the guards, man. They couldn't do anything. What do you think they're gonna do? Nothing. They can't do anything. They can't. They can't. That is sad, man. That is so sad. And this is sad as well.
and went straight through housing blocks. Houses that now
They just basically blew up the houses because, oh my God, they needed to build more wall.
had to become part of the wall. The East German authorities forced people out of their homes and
I mean, I'm sorry, but I had to give it to them. I'm not in favor of what they did, but they understood that if they can gather in those areas, they can figure out a way to escape. So that's what they did. That's
built
why they did it.
windows with bricks. Sometimes, however, they would forget a window. On August 17, 19...
Oh, to be honest, slowly, with a little hammer. Yeah, snail. Pop, 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 slowly. You have to do it in the middle of the day. Now where you have a lot of sound, right? Don't do it at midnight because everybody's gonna listen and hear what you're doing. And they're probably gonna snitch you, even your own kids. Man, I don't know, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I would love to hear you guys' opinion. This is very interesting topics, and I love it. Meantime, guys, I will see you in the next one.